As we approach the summer solstice, the sun reaches its peak, the height of its power during its cycle. And as this particular solstice is so close to the full moon, the moon hits its peak of power as well. So, what this means is there is a lot of amplified energy right now that we can tap into for our own growth and development. Now, summer solstice also ushers in Litha season. This is a time of great joy and merriment and fun, and a great time for making magic. So, merry meet. I'm Aislin. This is Ask Aislin. Solstice blessings to everyone. I'm here today to share with you some ideas for some summer solstice magic. So, welcome to those who are joining us live. If you are live here, I see Cindy in the chat right now. Hi Cindy. Hi everybody else joining us. So if you're here with us live, you can leave questions, comments in the chat. We'll have a Q&A at the end, and I'll also be following the chat as we go. If you like what you hear any place in the video, leave a heart or a thumbs up. Helps us get this out to the feed of more people. And also, if you're watching back later on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our channel, Body Mind Witchcraft, and you won't miss any future episodes. So we're going to dive in. There's a lot of fun stuff to talk about tonight. And I see some more people in the chat now. Colleen is here and Kurt. Hi, everybody. So good to see you all. Okay, so I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the summer solstice and what it means in particular, this solstice, which is so closely aligned to the full moon as well, which happens the day afterwards. What that means, we'll talk about what that means, and then we'll get into 10 different ways that you can practice some summer solstice magic. So hopefully you'll leave here with some great ideas that you can use either on Thursday for the actual summer solstice or anytime during Litha season. All right, so the summer solstice, I just wanted to start with a few different names that it goes by. It goes by summer solstice, as we know, that's what we're talking about right now. It's probably the most common name that's used, it's the most recognizable one. A lot of times when I talk about Litha in some of my posts and material, some people don't know what I'm talking about, but when I say summer solstice, everyone kind of knows what that is. Now, the summer solstice is the longest day and the shortest night of the year, of the solar year. It is perfectly opposite from winter solstice, which would be the longest night and the shortest day. Now, this is the peak of the solar cycle, like I mentioned. That means that the energy of the sun is at its very, very highest point. Now, if we think about that in conjunction to a lunar cycle, for example, the full moon would be the very highest point of the lunar energy. Now, another name that the summer solstice goes by is Litha. Litha is usually a name used by modern pagans to refer to this time. Essentially, Litha itself isn't really a singular day the way the summer solstice is. The solstice happens on one day. That is where the day will be the longest. All the days before it were shorter than that day, and all the days that come after it will be shorter. But Litha itself isn't just a singular day. It ushers in a season that we might call Litha season. This is about 4 to 5 week period where we're going to feel this kind of energy. Now, eventually, that will start to transition into Lunaza energy. That will be near the end of July. We'll start to feel that transition. Now, another name that Litha and summer solstice goes by is midsummer. And this can be a little confusing to people. People will say midsummer without really thinking about what that means. But if you think about it, on our calendars here in the northern hemisphere, we look at the summer solstice and it says the first day of summer, right? This marks the transition from spring into summer. But that's on our calendar. And where the word midsummer probably comes from is from the Celts, who considered Beltane to be the beginning of their summer season. So if Beltane was the beginning, then we would find ourselves right in the middle of summer when we got to the summer solstice. So that's likely to be where the idea of midsummer comes from. But even you'll see books, like I'm going to share one later. There's a book called, I'll show it a little bit later too, but this book is actually called Midsummer, and it gives you all kinds of ideas about how to celebrate the summer solstice. So here they're using kind of the older name for it. Now, in the Northern Hemisphere, the date of the solstice changes year to year, and it's typically going to fall between the 20th and the 22nd of June in the Northern Hemisphere. Now, for us, in this year, 2024, that is going to take place on Thursday, June 20th. So that's coming up. For those with us live now, that's in 2 days. Those who are watching back later, you'll probably be watching this on the summer solstice, or maybe even a day or two later. Now, for modern witches, the summer solstice also ends and marks the end of the growing season and the beginning of the dying season, the dying half of the wheel of the year. Now, this also seems very strange. It's something that we don't think a lot about. But because we are in most places right now, it is getting warmer. It's feeling like summer. But for a lot of you, especially if you have kids, um, kids are just getting out of school. It feels like summer is just beginning, right? And so for this to be the start of the dying half of the year feels kind of weird. But it's like any season or any change in a cycle. We often don't feel the change in the energy until we're into it a ways. And so the reality is that from this point forward, the days will get shorter every day until we get to the winter solstice. And like I mentioned, we won't really notice that probably until around Lunaza. And then you'll start to notice, yeah, the sun is setting a little bit earlier and the days do seem shorter. Now, this particular solstice, as I mentioned, is going to be followed immediately by the full moon on Friday, June 21st. Now, that is the height of the lunar cycle as well. This compounds the energy that's happening right now. It means this is very, very, very potent energy. And anytime that we have two cycles kind of aligned, it amplifies that energy. Now, that doesn't mean that a summer solstice that isn't aligned with a full moon is bad. It doesn't mean that. It just means we have actually a very special full moon and summer solstice right now because of the alignment of those two cycles. So if you're starting to feel kind of amplified energy, you are probably experiencing this energy kind of beginning. And I know from talking to some people, they said, they've been feeling kind of activated. Some people are feeling kind of like a little chaotic. The energy can feel a little chaotic when it starts to amplify. But if we know how to harness it, then we're going to transition through this period better. And so that's what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about different magic and spells and different things that you can do to harness this energy, especially knowing that the lunar and the solar cycles are aligned right now. So for anybody in the chat, I'm just going to check in here. So again, it's not really showing me everything in the chat, but hopefully if you guys have any questions, comments, put them in the chat and we'll go from there. Okay, so first thing I'm going to talk about is manifestation, because this particular summer solstice, all summer solstices are very good for manifestation because of the height of the solar energy. But this particular one with the peak of the lunar cycle, even better. So you can use this energy to draw into your life anything that you want. It's very good for wish fulfillment. Like in some ways, a lunar and solar cycle kind of aligned at the peak can feel like almost like a blue moon, where a blue moon is so good for just wish fulfillment. It's for really asking the universe for the things that you need. Even for to me, I feel like the sky is really the limit with your intentions. You can ask for anything. Your intention can be about anything. I mean, really good ideas for intentions now: abundance, love, self-love. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit as well. Love magic is a big topic at Litha and summer solstice. But anything that you need to draw something in, you want to strengthen your personal power, now is the time to do it. So the real question here is, what would you like to manifest for the second half of the cycle? Because essentially what we're doing, like I mentioned, is moving into the second half of the solar cycle. So what would you like to manifest by year's end? That's the intention that you want to set right now. Now, when we pair this with the full moon energy, we're going to feel that this energy is more projective than receptive. So sometimes Some summer solstices can feel more receptive. For example, if the moon was in let's say it was a dark moon, for example, during a summer solstice, you might feel like turning inward. But here, you're likely going to feel like more activated energy, more like this is a projective energy. Now, you can use that projective energy to then propel your intentions out into the universe. So here are some ideas. For example, sigil magic would be a great thing to do, or candle magic, knot or cord magic. Now, if you don't know what some of these types of magic are, you can definitely look them up, Google them, and you'll find different ideas of how you could do it. I'll briefly tell you about a couple of these, and then I do plan on doing an episode in the future where I'm going to go through some different types of magic. But pretty in simple form, let's just talk about knot and cord magic because it's a very easy type of magic. So in knot magic, we will take a cord, a string, a piece of yarn, something like anything like that, and you'll tie knots into it that contain your intention. Sometimes you'll say a little incantation as you do that. And then the idea is that this cord now is carrying your magic. Now, as far as what to do with the cord afterwards, some people carry it like in their bag with them. They might hang it somewhere. If you ever wanted to undo the magic, you can just tie the knots. Now, cord magic, you can also do like braided cord magic, which is where you would get 3 pieces of yarn, ribbon, cord, and then you would braid them together. And as you do that braiding, that weaving, you're basically weaving your intention into the cord. And then the same idea, you could carry that with you, you could hang it somewhere. Sometimes I like to make them long enough that I could wrap it around my wrist for a bracelet, or I could even like tie it around my neck for a necklace. And then essentially what I'm doing is I'm carrying the intention with me. So I'm a little bit worried. The frame rate is showing me that it's very low right now. If anybody is here live and can put in the chat that they can hear me, let me know. I hope that I've not lost the connection, okay? There's a lot of weird internet stuff going on right now. So just put that in the chat if you're still here. So, bottom line here, great time for some kind of intentional magic. And like I said, I'll be doing an episode in the future where we'll talk about different forms of magic. That way, if you have your intention, all you have to do then is kind of pick the catalyst or pick the form of magic that you're going to do. Okay, so let's go on to next thing here. So this is drawing down the sun. Drawing down the sun is similar to drawing down the moon, but with solar energy. So for those who've never drawn down the moon, drawing down the moon is something that's typically done on a full moon, not necessarily the other parts of the lunar cycle. Okay, I just clicked something and now I can see other comments where people are saying they can hear me. And I see Amy's here and Melinda and and Misty. Oh gosh, okay, now I can see all kinds of things. Kurt's asking about the Oak King and the Holly King, and I'm going to talk about them very, very soon here too. Because thank God I can see these comments. Okay. Okay, so drawing down the moon, typically done during a full moon. This is where a person would draw down the energy, the lunar energy, into their body, and sometimes they'll also be drawing in like the goddess or a lunar deity of some kind. Now, drawing down the sun, very similar, but in this case, you would be drawing in solar energy or a solar deity. Now, here's a very simple way to draw down the sun, and I think this would be a neat practice to do on the solstice if you're watching this ahead of time, like those who are here live, and also could be done really any time during Litha season. So what you want to do is you want to go outside and at some point in the day where you can stand in the sun, and it doesn't have to be a long time. So if you're sun sensitive like me, you just have to go in there for a couple minutes. And what I would recommend doing is really opening up your body, because when we are kind of closed off, like standing like this, which is kind of like our normal position, we're kind of like closed inward. So what I would do is I'd really make the body kind of big. and you would open up your arms like this. Sometimes this is called goddess position, and just really let the energy of the sun come down to you. And you can sort of imagine the energy entering you one of two different ways. So you can imagine it sort of entering your fingertips, coming down your veins, like through your blood into your arms and your shoulders. Just imagine all that energy going all the way down through your body and basically filling every cell. Now, another option, and you could do these together or do this do this as an alternate way to do it, is as you're standing there, imagine breathing in the solar energy through your mouth and taking that in. Imagine it kind of infusing all of your cells, and then on the exhale, you're just kind of breathing it back out into the universe. So everyone can kind of revel in this solar energy. Now, of course, when you're finished with this, you want to thank the sun for its energy that it's given to you, and send any excess energy, like what you may find is solar energy is pretty activating. So you may find that you have an amplification of energy. So if you notice you have energy that you don't need, you can then intentionally send the rest of the energy out into the universe to like whoever or whatever needs it most. Like, so you could send energy out to the animals that live around your home, or the wildlife, right? Or to the trees and the plants that live around you. Or perhaps there's people you know that are hurting and you can send it to them. So it's just a really good way to kind of distribute this very, very, very positive kind of energy. Now, like I mentioned, you can also, that's kind of a generic drawing down the sun, but you can also draw down a solar goddess or a solar god as well. So just one option. I love working with Amaterasu. She's the Japanese goddess of the sun. She's an amazing one to work with during summer solstice. So you can kind of imagine drawing her essence down into you, or inviting her to be near you. Or perhaps a solar god like Helios, we might use, or Apollo. And at the end, when we talk more about deities for the season, I'll give you some more options as well. But that would be an idea. Now, I did want to share with you this book right here. This is called Drawing Down the Sun. This book was written by Stephanie Woodfield. A lot of times we talk about drawing down the moon so much as witches, and we don't often talk about drawing down the sun. So this book is really great. It will give you, now this particular book, it's called, like the subtitle here is Rekindle the Magic of the Solar Goddesses. So it's going to be goddess centered, but you absolutely can use gods as well. And in fact, typically in mythology, in most cultures and most pantheons, the solar deity is a god. But this book is neat because it goes through some of those kind of forgotten solar goddesses as well. And just as I was flipping through it, I saw Japan, and the first thing that's coming up is Amaterasu. So check out that book, Drawing Down the Sun, Stephanie Woodfield, if you're interested in kind of working with solar energy. Okay, so let's jump into the second idea here is, the third idea is a reenactment of the death of the Oak King. So I saw Kurt had asked a question, does it involve the Oak King versus the Holly King? Absolutely. So when I was mentioning before that this is like the death of the growing season, and or the growing half of the wheel, and the entering of the dying half, that is the Oak King and the Holly King are symbolic representations of that. So these are two opposing forces. The Holly King is the reigning king of the waning half of the year, and the Oak King is the reigning king of the waxing half of the year. So the Holly King is triumphant at midsummer, at summer solstice, at Litha, because he ushers in the dying half of the year. So if you have a couple of people, unfortunately, this is an idea that you can't really do alone, though you absolutely can read these stories and enjoy them. But if you wanted to reenact the battle of the Holly King and the Oak King, get a couple of people, and you can do like a mock battle. Now, we've done this, I mentioned this in other episodes before, we've done this in our coven, and we have one person kind of acting out the Holly King, one person acting out the Oak King. You can really knock yourself out if you're creative. You can make crowns, like we had a crown with holly leaves, and then we had one with oak leaves, and these two were dressed in green and in red. So typically the Holly King is in red and the Oak King is in green, and then they sort of battled it out. And then oftentimes there's a third actor who is the goddess, and the goddess will actually, at the end of the battle, she will put the crown, she'll put her own crown, sometimes she'll take her own crown off, and she will put it on the head of whoever wins the battle. So in this case, it would be the Holly King. Um, Now, you can find scripts online. So you just Google script for Oak King versus Holly King battle. Some books will actually have a script in them as well. Or if you're creative, you can write your own. That's what we did. We never really used a script. We just had this kind of mock battle that people would watch. And it's fun, it's enjoyable, and just a neat way to kind of work with those opposing energies. But and then I think it's also important is that those energies sort of um, they remind us, right, that the despite the fact that the waxing half of the year is dying and the waning half of the year is beginning, the reminder is that this is cyclical, which means that even though the Holly King wins right now and he ushers in kind of that dying half of the year, he's going to lose at winter solstice. The Oak King will win, and the cycle is always continuing. And so, what it reminds us, this kind of magic especially reminds us that no matter what happens in our lives, no matter how tough or difficult it might seem in this moment, there are good days coming. There is sun coming. There is brightness coming because the cycles repeat themselves over and over and over again. And if you're not happy with the results of this cycle, you always have the promise of the next one. So good fun way to kind of represent that energy. Um, okay, so I'm just going to pause for a second before I go on to the next idea. I'm just going to see if there's anything kind of related in the chat to talk about. Cindy had asked, could one be drawn to one solstice over the other? Yeah, I think that anybody can be drawn to any of the Sabbats over another. What's kind of interesting is that I watch the interest that people have in solstices, and I can kind of track that based on how many people show up at my lives, to my rituals, how many people, like when we have public rituals that we sell donated tickets to, how many people purchase those tickets, how many people kind of respond to posts about that specific Sabbath. And I will tell you, this is puzzling to me. Summer solstice is one of the least popular Sabbats I've watched over the years. This is one of the least popular Sabbats. Even in our in-person coven, this was always the Sabbat where the fewest people attend. I don't get what it's about. I love the summer solstice. In fact, I love all the Sabbats because I love to just follow the flow of the energy of the wheel. But for some reason, this energy isn't quite as popular with people than, let's say, Beltane or Lunaza. Even people really seem to love Lunaza a lot. So yes, absolutely, somebody could be drawn to one solstice over the other. But I think that what we need to remember is that it's a package deal. And really, if we want to be living in the cycle of the seasons, we want to try to find something to love about every single one of them. And that's how we become the well-rounded people that kind of roll with the wheel. But very good question. Okay, let's see what else. I see a lot of people saying they can hear. Thank goodness. Okay. Um, and then Colleen said, love the idea of drawing down the sun and the moon. Would manifesting be a good idea, drawing down the energy received from the sun and the moon? Sure. And in fact, the ritual that I'll be talking about this later, unfortunately, this ritual is closed to the public. It's only for our Shadow Seekers and our Coven of Midnight's Flame members. But we are going to be doing a ritual where we're doing just that. We're actually going to draw in both energies and kind of work with them together. But yes, you can absolutely work with both energies together and and manifest what you want to draw in. I think what's also kind of interesting is solar energy is very projective, whereas lunar energy is very receptive. So one of the things that we're going to do, without giving away all of what we're going to do in the ritual, but one of the things that we're going to do in our own summer solstice ritual is sort of help people understand which of those energies is speaking to them right now, because in some parts of our lives, it's time to move forward and make choices and actually take actions. And in other parts of our lives, it's time to like slow down, listen, be reflective. And sometimes it gets confusing what part of that, of our own cycle we're in. And that is what our ritual is going to be about. And Amy said, probably because people have a lot going on with the summer solstice. And that is something that I've wondered about too. It's just the timing of the year. There's a lot of barbecues. There's a lot of the kids are getting out of school. People are going on summer vacation, and it could be that too. But I've often wondered, what makes a Sabbath more popular than another Sabbath? Another one that we find is one of the other least popular Sabbaths I've tracked is Ostara. People are just not into Ostara as much as they are into some of the other ones. So, okay, so let's go on to our next idea, and this is love magic. So, love magic, remember, includes self love. So, it doesn't have to be about attracting a partner or strengthening the relationship you have with a partner. It can also be about strengthening the relationship you have with yourself. Now, it is no coincidence that the theme of Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream was love, right? The fairies were in love, the humans were in love. There were love potions going on that were kind of mixing it all up for everybody. We had fairies falling in love with humans and vice versa. But love is something that is not like tied to the Sabbath, is not a modern concept. And so this is a great time to cast a spell to attract a love interest. It's a great time to strengthen the love that you have for your current partner or for really anybody, friendships, children, relatives. It's just a theme. Love is the theme right now. And also a good time to foster your own self love. So, if you wanted to kind of strengthen a relationship or attract a relationship, you can make a love elixir. Damiana is a great herb to use during love magic. It is a known aphrodisiac, a light aphrodisiac, but it tends to be very good in love potions. So you can drink it yourself to kind of foster your own self-love. And one of the things too is when we want to attract someone in, we also want to make sure that we love ourselves. So sometimes love magic actually starts with self-love magic. Another thing that we can do is to kind of bring that into our own kind of orbit is pamper yourself during this time. So a lot of times people will say summer solstice is a time of like relaxing and fun. And so kind of like what Amy said is like people have a lot going on. There's a lot of like outdoor activities. There's just a lot of stuff happening right now because people are feeling that. They're feeling that energy of like fun, merriment. You want to get outside and be around people, take walks, go hiking, like all of the outdoor activities. Go to the beach if you're near it, right? And um, and so sometimes we forget, though, like to pamper ourselves. So this is a really good time to kind of remind ourselves that it all begins with us. And just kind of relaxing, doing the things that you enjoy, not really restricting yourself from the stuff that you like. One thing I particularly love as a self-care practice is called Abhyanga massage, and it is a self-massage where you get some kind of a carrier oil. Like I like sweet almond oil. It's very easy and it's very good for pretty much any person can use it. And you can use it alone, or you can put a few drops of an oil, like an essential oil that you like lavender is a really great one for summer solstice, peppermint, trying to think of a few others you could use, rosemary. And so you would put a few drops of that oil into the carrier oil. What I usually do is I put it in a bowl or like a jar, and then I heat it up a little bit because we'd like it to be a little bit warm. And then you just begin to massage your body. In an Abhyanga massage, it's like your entire body. So it's really good to do in the bathroom. You can take all your clothes off and really just like, how often do you take that kind of care with yourself? And if you're somebody who has never, then even more reason to try Abhyanga. And so you just sit 5 minutes or so, and you just give yourself this really nice sensual massage, and then afterwards you can jump in the shower and wash it all off. So not only is it a good self-love practice and so nurturing for yourself, also really good from a physical standpoint. It helps move some of the lymph in your body. And then from an energetic perspective, it would begin to move some of your energy as well. So if you find that you have stuck in stagnant energy, Abhyanga massage is very, very good. And just one note too, is you can absolutely, in most texts, they will tell you to like do it in your hair. I don't like oil in my hair, so I don't do my hair. So you can totally skip that, just do the rest of your body. Now, another kind of practice related to love, and we, some solstice wouldn't be quite the same if we didn't mention this, but it's hand fastings. It's no coincidence that so many people get married in June and July. It's just this is the season of weddings and hand fastings. So a perfect time to kind of schedule your hand fasting or renew vows that you have to someone, and just really tap into the energy of love that is part of the season. Okay, so next up we are going to talk about fairy magic, because fairies are out and around. And for those who are initiates in our Coven of Midnight's Flame, a couple weeks ago, Beth taught a whole workshop on fairy magic to everybody and gave people some kind of ideas of what to do. But here I'm going to briefly kind of summarize some of that. So the idea is that the veils are quite thin right now. From Beltane to Litha, it has a similar thinness to what happens between Samhain and Yule. Now, Samhain and Yule is where we really experience the thinness. We talk about it. Everybody's talking about it, right? We're closer to the dead. We get messages from the deceased and our ancestors, things like that. Now, the veil's thin at Samhain to help let some of the souls out of this plane of existence. But on the opposite side of the wheel, at Beltane, between Beltane and Litha, the veil's also thin in order to let more life in. And so that is new buds on the trees. One of the other things that I always mention in fairy season is to make sure that you know where things like keys are, shiny things, jewelry. Try to put it always in the same spot, especially during this season, because otherwise it may be moved and then return to you a little bit later. But the fairy jar can be a way to sort of offset that. You're sort of making them happy by giving this to them, so that maybe they won't cause any mischief in your house by stealing your keys and different stuff like that. Okay, so it looks like my voice was garbled, but now it's back to normal. That sucks, but at least it's back to normal. Okay, let me know if that happens again. Okay, sorry about that. I'm having some internet issues, and I hope I'm hoping to correct that soon. I don't know what's going on with my very expensive internet, but that may be the explanation for that. Okay, so next idea is about divination. Okay, and I see that Amy said she missed about the fairy jars. I'm going to assume that's because the sound was kind of messed up. So I'm just going to say again, so a fairy jar would be, we'd take a small jar and we would put some shiny objects in it, like trinkets, keys, jewelry, glitter, sparkles, stuff like that. And then you can leave it somewhere in your home as an offering to the fairies, and that can help offset them, kind of appease them, make them happy, so that maybe they won't steal your keys or cause some mischief and kind of fun in your house. Okay, so next idea is divination. So as I mentioned before, the veils are a bit thinner right now than they usually are. And so divination's great if you are somebody who never does divination, have always wanted to do divination. This is a really good time to do it. If you're somebody who's good at divination, let's say you're really into tarot and you've gotten really good at it, this is, of course, you could do your tarot, but this is also, the energy is really open to trying different forms of divination. So crystal ball gazing, like if you've never used a crystal ball, this could be a good time to try it. Runes, if you're somebody who's always doing tarot, maybe try your hand at runes. I brought a set of witches runes here as well. So witches runes are different than your traditional Nordic runes. These have little, let's see, this one here says, I can't read it, hold on. Unfortunately, I need glasses. This one says harvest. So witches' runes depends on the number. I think this one has like 18 different ones. And so they'll have a little picture on them and a word, and you can choose them just like normal runes. Sometimes people say they're a little bit more accessible to beginners because, like I said, like this one has, so essentially what this one has is like equal armed cross with arrows going in all four directions, and then underneath it it says crossroads. So obviously it's very like intuitive when you pick that up. It's not like a Nordic rune where you'd have to know what the symbolism meant and you have to study it. This is a lot more, can be a lot more intuitive. So like I said, this is called Witches' Runes. If you've never heard of them, look them up. There's different ways to make them. You can actually make them yourself. There's places where you'll find all the symbols, and you can literally draw those. You could put those on Sculpey clay and bake them and make your own set. But check that out. But just a good overall time to try different types of divination. Okay. Um, what I also wanted to mention when it comes to divination, especially for those of you who are newer to it or who have struggled with it in the past, start with a bit of breath work or meditation, something that's going to open up your energy and help you move into more of a receptive state. And another thing to think about is try some mugwort. It's a very good herb for summer solstice, but also a very good herb for opening up your receptivity during ritual and divination. And so what I brought here, it looks very much like a sage stick or sage bundle, but this is mugwort. And I found this at a local like apothecary here. But I know you can get this on Mountain Rose Herbs. I know that they sell it as well, but I'm sure you can find it other places. Doesn't smell like sage, it smells different. And you can light this just like a sage stick. You can light it, you can swirl the smoke around you, you can kind of breathe it in. And the idea is that it brings you into a more receptive state, which can make meditation easier, can make divination easier. And so try that out, okay? Next idea is wand making. Wand making is associated, wands in general are associated with the element of fire, which is also associated with the summer solstice. So this is a great way to tap into solar energy. Now, I've shared this before. This is a wand that I made. I think that you can absolutely buy wands, but this is a great time to make them. And if you've got kids, you can also make them with them. It's a great activity for children. So all you need is a stick. I suggest people go out looking for a stick that seems like it fits their hand. That's always my criteria is, can I imagine holding it? Does it feel like that part of it fits into the palm of my hand? And then from there, it's up to you. Kind of knock yourself out how you make this. I made a handle here by wrapping some sparkly red cord, and then I drew symbols, astrological symbols of the planets and the signs on it. And then this one used to have a little crystal that I wire wrapped on the top. It's since fallen off in our move, but I'm going to repair that soon, and you can put a crystal there to help you direct energy. But great activity, very fun way to tap into the energy of the summer solstice and solar energy. And then a wand can be used to project your energy during spells, during rituals. Um, Sometimes people will use it instead of an athame. I personally like to have an athame and a wand because I get the air element of the athame and then I get the fire element of the wand. So, all right, there's that. So making a wand. Now, a couple of other ideas before we open up for the Q&A. So another idea is plant and herbal magic. This is a great time to commune with plant spirits. Like I said, veils are thin. That means it's easier to commune with kind of the nature spirits in general. You can make tinctures. You can make herbal sachets. If you've never made a sachet, you would get a piece of cloth, put some herbs into it that are aligned to your intention. You can then kind of tie it up with a ribbon. You can hang it above your door. You can carry it with you. You can hang it in your car, put it in your glove box. Uh, let's see, what else can you do? You can also dress candles with herbs. So this would be, it works best if you have an essential oil. And what you would do is you take your candle, anoint it with essential oil by just kind of rubbing the oil lightly into the candle. Obviously, it can't be a candle that's already in a glass holder. This would have to be a taper or a chime candle, something like that. And then on a piece of paper, I usually sprinkle some herbs, and then I roll the candle in the herbs so that the candle gets coated with the herbs. The herbs work as a catalyst. That means that the energy is going to burn the candle down faster, but you're also adding the herbs to the intention of whatever the spell is that you're doing. So really nice herbs for the summer solstice would be St. John's wort, chamomile, calendula, lavender, mugwort, like I mentioned, also good for kind of thinning the veils of your mind, and verbena. This is not an exhaustive list, but these particular herbs that I just mentioned are used by druids, have been used and are used by druids in their ceremonial midsummer bonfires. So we're really kind of tapping into the energy of the season if we're using these particular herbs. Then just two final ideas, making an altar for the summer solstice for midsummer. You can make it for the day, kind of put it up on the day of solstice, or you can make an altar that you're going to just have up all through the season, and maybe you'll take that down or change it as we get close to the end of July and we transition into Lunaza. Things to put on your midsummer altar: fairy statues, flowers, lots of flowers, flower crowns, solar images, so like discs, the equal armed cross, candles, lots and lots of candles, the green man, so like an imagery of the green man or a solar goddess or god. Now, the colors you can use orange, yellow, green, brown, and gold. And these colors are, like you can see there, it's intuitive, right? Colors of the sun, but then we also have the green and the brown, which are the colors of the earth. And you can get an altar cloth that are these colors, or you can just decorate, just put items of those colors on the altar. And I just see a couple of others are joining us. I see Adam's here and Sabrina's here. Hi, everybody. And Adam said he's got all those herbs in his garden this year, so it means you are all set for you're all set for the summer solstice energy. And then a final idea here is to work with deities that are connected to this season, to Litha season. So the archetypes here are the solar or the grain god, or like the green god, the god of the earth, and then the mother goddess. And where this all kind of comes from is in the pagan or Wiccan Wheel of the Year story. The goddess, she is basically ripe. She's been fertilized at Beltane, and now the life of the sun god is kind of growing within her. And so, like, everybody's sort of at the peak of their power. So sometimes people will call the divine king and the divine queen. It's definitely a time of year to kind of call both a male and female deity a god and goddess. So, like, in our own ritual this year, we're going to work with Freya and with Frey. So particular deities that you could work with are Thor, Frigga, Freya, Frey, Odin, Osiris, Horus, Isis, Apollo, Artemis, and I also mentioned the Japanese goddess Amaterasu. Again, not an exhaustive list, but we're looking for solar deities, solar gods, goddesses, and goddesses and gods of the land. And so that would be if you have a deity already in your practice, you can absolutely work with that deity during the summer solstice. Your own personal patron can be worked with at any time. But if you're interested in bringing in some deities that are kind of aligned with the solar energy, there are some ideas for you. Now remember too that this is not a seasonal, that this is a seasonal energy. This is not the energy of one day. So I say this every time a Sabbath comes, inevitably someone writes to me a bit panicked that they feel like they missed it because they missed celebrating on that day. Now remember, the summer solstice will happen on that one day, but that is the beginning of a season, seasonal energy. So you now have 4 or 5 weeks before we transition into Lunaza that you can work with any of these ideas and bring this kind of magic into your life throughout the remainder of this season. All right, so I am going to open it up for the Q&A, okay? And so I do have a question that was sent to me earlier that I'm going to start with, but anybody who's here live can put in questions, comments into the chat, and I will answer anything that you have. And I see Kurt he had said, what goddess spent 6 months in the underworld and 6 months in the above world? And Colleen said Persephone. And that is correct. So Persephone typically goes down into the underworld somewhere between Mabon and Samhain, like in our modern wheel of the year. And then she returns somewhere between probably Ostara and Beltane. But the idea is that it's to show that dying half of the year, when she's underground, the the earth kind of loses its ability to sustain life, and then when she's out in the world, then it receives that time, and or that it receives that energy again. And the idea with her mother Demeter is that Demeter herself, the goddess of the earth, is the one who said she would cut off her energy from the earth unless her daughter was returned to her. So, okay. So here I'm going to start with this question from Tia, and she asked a question that I received before. So this is a good question. I know that others wonder about it. And she's wondering what to do when you want to do shadow work, but you don't want to journal in that moment, right? So she said, what are some non-journaling shadow work examples for those times when putting the pen to paper is too much? And I hear this from other people too. Some people just don't like journaling. Honestly, I'm not super wild about journaling. I write all the time. And so writing more does seem like a kind of an arduous task sometimes for me. So I've learned different ways that we can do shadow work without having to write anything at all. So one thing you can do, this is probably the simplest thing, is if you still wanted to do the prompts, but you don't want to write, is you can speak into your phone. This is something that I do, especially if I'm walking and I'm kind of like doing shadow work while I'm walking. I don't want to write. I don't want to stop and get out a pen and paper. And so I'll just pull out my phone and I just talk into the voice memo, and now I have it recorded. So that is one idea. But let's suppose that someone really doesn't want to even do that. So we've got some other ideas. So one thing would be to take this into, like, let's not do it as writing, but let's do something visual. So you can do arts and crafts. You can do collage. You know, all the things that come out through your writing can come out in any way that you can express yourself. So you don't even, like, I am not good at painting or drawing or any of that, but you can think of it more as like your inner child expressing this stuff. And in fact, take your non-dominant hand and color or draw with that and see what comes out. So that's a neat way to not only kind of get into some shadow work perhaps, but also to tap into the energy of the inner child. Now you could even take one of the prompts. So there's a prompt that's a very classic one, which is like, who triggers you the most, or what kind of person upsets you the most. And instead of writing it down or talking it into your phone or voice memo, take your dominant or your non-dominant hand and draw and see what comes out. See, and it can be colors, it can be imagery, and just see what's coming out, because that's the same way. It's just a different mode of us getting the information out. Because remember, all that shadow work really is making the unconscious conscious. So yeah, we work with our shadow aspects. We're trying to figure out what they all are. But at the end of the day, anything that brings the unconscious out into the light is shadow work. So also the collage is a great idea, because you can cut up pictures and put them together. Maybe make a picture of your shadow and see what comes out. Like, you can draw kind of an amorphous kind of shape and then cut out pictures from magazines or print things out from the internet or stickers, or go to Michael's and get like scrapbooking stuff and just make a picture of your shadow and see what comes out that way. Again, a great way to work with your inner child as well. Um, I see Martha said in the chat that she has done a somatic shadow breathwork class that was pretty cool. Yeah, so you can do breath work. You can do intuitive movement also can be a way to be doing shadow work. One of the ideas that I had put on my list was yin yoga and contemplation. That's one of my favorite ways to do shadow work. Like, as I mentioned, I don't really like to journal, though I do. I'm a big proponent of journaling for those who enjoy doing it. But for me, what I like to do is take a prompt, get into a yin yoga pose, and then just think about it, contemplate it, and see what comes up. Now, what I might do is take a piece of paper next to me and just jot down ideas, but I'm not, things that are coming up, but I'm not really journaling. I'm just letting the ideas come up to me. I also like to do shadow walking and contemplation. So this is where you go out on a walk at dusk. Because this is the time most aligned to kind of like our unconscious. Or I suppose you could also do it at dawn. It's like the transition spaces between day and night. The veil's thin just a little bit, which makes us more receptive. And so as you go out and you go out and you walk with an intention of kind of thinking about things. So maybe you take a prompt and you walk with it and you see what comes up. But there are a lot of different ways that we can work with shadow aspects that don't have to do with journaling, for sure. If I come up with any more, I'll add to that, but those are at least some thoughts to get you started. And Colleen says she really likes the idea of drawing with the non-dominant hand. I do too, because it allows the inner child to come out, for sure. And what I was also going to mention, I know what I was going to mention with the yin yoga is that for the Shadow Seekers members, we actually have a couple of yin yoga videos in our membership. One of them in particular is for all of the chakras, and it gives you prompts. It doesn't ask you to write them down necessarily, but you go into a pose and you think about a prompt related to that chakra, let's say the root, and then you go to the next one and it gives you a prompt to kind of think about, well, you're in a pose that opens up your sacral chakra and then you're thinking about a sacral chakra prompt. So it's kind of cool. Amy said, where can you find somatic breath work for shadow work? Maybe Martha can share where she found that class, but I will tell you too, a lot of people have been requesting somatic shadow work kind of work, and that is in the works for the Shadow Seekers membership. That is coming very soon. Okay, but maybe Martha can share with you where she found that class. Okay, any other questions that people have? Anything you want to share? Floor is open. Let me see here if there's anything else I wanted to share. I did want to share one other book I forgot to share during the kind of main episode, but this book is called Midsummer. I showed it in the very beginning, but here it is again. This book is by Anna Franklin, Magical Celebrations of the Summer Solstice. So this book is part of the 8 book series by Llewellyn. There's one book for every Sabbath. I tell my Demystifying Witchcraft students, I love the series, and while each book is probably like, this was $15 when I bought it 20 years ago, it's probably, 25 bucks now. So you can do the math. If you want to get all 8 books, it's kind of pricey. But what you can do is get one every season, get one every once in a while, and eventually you'll have the whole entire set. And what I love about these books is it goes into the lore. It's just got everything in it that you could possibly want. Here is herb crafting for midsummer, divination, so ideas for divination. Let's see, what else do we have? We have correspondence sheets. We've got some rituals. We've got a solitary ritual. We have a group ritual. I've got recipes for mead here, some different teas that you can make. Just an amazing book. And then at the end, each of the books has like a whole set of correspondences that you can look up, like sun symbols. This particular one has different holidays in June that are connected to the summer solstice. So great book. Check that out. Midsummer by Anna Franklin. Okay. And then Jenny said, do I have a good source for guided meditations? Yeah, that is a tough one because there's so many out there. I personally like the what is it called? Insight Timer is my favorite one. But are you looking specifically for like a midsummer meditation or just guided in general? Because I think that they probably have summer solstice and midsummer meditations on there. I like Insight Timer because number one, there's a version that's free that actually has a lot of free stuff. Now you can pay, I think I pay like $19 a year. You know, it comes out to be about $1, a little over $1 a month. And then you'll have access to all of the paid stuff as well. And the paid stuff is shockingly, there's like a lot of stuff. There's actually full courses that you can take on there. I remember there was one I was taking on yoga nidra, but there's a whole variety of there's courses on abundance where it's like usually like a 10 kind of audio lessons in that course. Really cool website. Um, I would check out Insight Timer. Other people have different ones that they like, but that's the one I like. Um, and if I could think of any other like good sources, I will let you know. Amy says my meditations are the best. Thank you. I need to make more. I need to make more for our Shadow Seekers members. But yeah, Jenny, I would check out Insight Timer if you've never checked that one out before. Because shockingly there were so many things in there, and there's a search button in there too, so you can type in anything. Like I typed in like witchcraft, and there was stuff that came up, chakras. Like, and Colleen said, is Insight Timer an app? Yes, so it's an app you can get from the App Store, totally free. And like I said, download the free version, and you can get really far with the free version. And then if you love it more, then or you love it a lot, then consider joining the paid version. Like I said, when I got it, it was $19 a year, I believe. So, and then I see Martha shared the link to the woman who taught the shadow work somatic breathwork class. Great. Okay. Still time to put in some questions if anybody has them, but what is coming up? So for those who don't know, Phoenix Moon Summit starts, let's see, it starts on Thursday. Phoenix Moon Summit is a free online summit that I am part of. I am going to be, my segment is featured on the second day, Friday, June 21st. Now, I believe, let's see, I've given this link out other places, but I'm going to share it here in the chat. And there we go. Oops, what is going on here? Hold on. Oh my God. I don't think that worked. Can I delete that here? Sorry guys, while we're live. It tried to tag my name in it and then it screwed up the link. That one should work, hopefully. There we go. Okay. So there, it did it twice. Okay. So if you're here live, you got the link now. So this link will take you to a page where you can sign up, you register. It's all free summit. They will offer you a chance to purchase the recordings for life. You don't have to do that. You can totally enjoy this summit totally free. I think there are 16 different people sharing different topics. There's a woman who's going to talk about Atlantis. There's chakra stuff. There is stuff on magic. There's stuff on breath work. There's stuff on all kinds of topics. I'm going to be talking about shadow work and energy work during my interview. So check it out if you want something to do for the solstice. I believe I think it runs for like about a week. Every day, starting on June 20th, you'll be sent an email in the morning that will have a link for like 2 to 3 recordings. You have 24 hours to watch that if you're on the free ticket. And then I think there's a replay of it all at the end as well for anybody who missed some of the episodes. But check it out. You can support me, kind of watch my episode. Rebecca said she tried to sign up for this, but it keeps coming up saying 404 page unfound. And are you clicking on this link? So I did find out that when you sign up for this, and I think this has now been corrected because I brought this to the attention of Diane, who's running the summit. When people signed up for it and they opted out of the paid like VIP part, it would take them to a 404 page unfound. But she says that you're signed up, check your email, and you should have a confirmation email. But keep trying it. But hopefully the link doesn't go to a 404 page. Hopefully that's just like it was a mishap or a miscoding, I think, in the code. But if you still can't get signed up, let me know, okay? And I'll try to figure out what's going on. So that's coming up on June 20th. You can sign up at any time. Like I said, I think it runs for about a week, and then there will be a replay of all of the interviews at the end of the week. Coming up next Tuesday, 6:25, I'll be doing an episode on the clair senses, in the 4 main clair senses, and you can learn more about those and how you can strengthen yours. I'm somebody who believes that everybody has intuitive abilities. Everybody has clair senses, even if we think we don't. And we'll be talking about how to tap into those. And and then as far as the public Litha ritual, public summer solstice ritual, we're not doing one this year. It's closed to just our Shadow Seekers and our Covenant of Midnight's Flame members. But we will have a public ritual at Lunaza. We're doing our big abundance ritual again this year for Lionsgate Portal. So watch for that in about 6 weeks. And then as far as our Shadow Seekers membership will be open again in August. So if you're really into coming to the rituals and kind of doing some of this work with us at a deeper level, consider joining us then when we open up again. Okay, so I don't really see any other comments or anything, so I'm going to sign off for now. It was great seeing all of you guys. I hope that you have a wonderful summer solstice. And just remember, it's not just that one day. You have a whole 5 or so weeks to kind of tap into this energy. And if you like what you hear, leave a heart anywhere in the video. It helps us get it out to the feet of more people. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Body, Mind, Witchcraft, and you will not miss a future episode. I actually have some really fun things coming on that channel this summer. I'm going to be adding to them. It's not just Ask Aislin anymore. We're going to be doing some more videos on there. All right, until next time, blessed be.